The escape. The twin moons of Zarthalos cast an eerie glow over the planet's surface, illuminating the chaos that had engulfed the once peaceful world. Lyra, a young Zarthalian scientist, raced through the winding streets of the capital city, her heart pounding in her chest. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the air, a grim reminder of the war that had consumed her home. Lyra's crystalline skin, usually a vibrant blue, had dulled to a pale gray in response to her fear and exhaustion. She clutched a small device to her chest, its pulsing light the only hope for her people's survival. The Galactic Consortium's forces were closing in, their advanced weaponry tearing through Zarthalos' defenses like paper. As she rounded a corner, Lyra nearly collided with a group of fleeing civilians. Their panicked cries filled the air, a cacophony of fear and desperation. She pushed past them, her eyes fixed on the spaceport in the distance. If she could just reach her ship, she might have a chance to escape and find help. The spaceport loomed ahead, a towering structure of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields. Lyra's steps faltered as she saw the consortium troops swarming the area, their sleek black armor a stark contrast to the silver buildings of Zarthalos. She ducked behind a fallen statue, her mind racing as she searched for another way in. The explosion rocked the ground, sending debris raining down around her. Lyra bit back a cry of pain as a jagged piece of metal sliced across her arm, leaving a trail of silvery blood. She pressed herself closer to the ground, her eyes scanning the chaos for any opportunity. That's when she saw it, a small maintenance hatch, partially hidden by the rubble. With a surge of hope, Lyra darted from her hiding place, keeping low as she sprinted towards the hatch. The sounds of battle grew louder, the air thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning plasma. Lyra reached the hatch, her fingers fumbling with the lock. She could hear the heavy footsteps of consortium troops drawing nearer. With a final twist, the hatch creaked open, and she slipped inside, pulling it shut behind her. The maintenance tunnel was dark and cramped, forcing Lyra to crawl on her hands and knees. She moved as quickly as she could, ignoring the ache in her muscles and the sting of her injured arm. The device she carried pulsed faster, as if sensing her urgency. After what felt like hours, but was likely only minutes, Lyra emerged into a dimly lit hangar. Her eyes widened as she took in the rows of ships, most of them damaged or half dismantled. At the far end of the hangar, she spotted her own vessel, a sleek silver craft designed for speed and stealth. Lyra broke into a run, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. She reached her ship and placed her hand on the access panel, sighing with relief as it recognized her biosignature and opened the hatch. As she climbed inside, alarms began blaring throughout the hangar. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, initiating the launch sequence. The ship's engines hummed to life, and she felt a moment of triumph. That triumph was short-lived. The hangar doors began to close, threatening to trap her inside. Lyra gritted her teeth and pushed the throttle forward. The ship shot towards the narrowing gap, scraping against the edges as it burst into open air. The night sky of Zarthalos was ablaze with energy weapons and explosions. Lyra's ship weaved through the chaos, climbing higher and higher. She could see consortium warships in orbit, their massive forms blocking out the stars. Warnings flashed across her console as enemy fighters gave chase. Lyra's training kicked in, and she executed a series of evasive maneuvers, pushing her ship to its limits. The stars blurred around her as she broke free of the planet's atmosphere, the pursuing fighters hot on her tail. Lyra's mind raced as she tried to formulate a plan. She couldn't outrun them forever, and she had no idea where to go for help. The Galactic Consortium controlled most of the known systems, and those they didn't control were too primitive to stand against them. A stray thought crossed her mind, a rumor she had once dismissed as nonsense. There was supposedly a system on the Outer Rim, home to a species called humans. They were said to be unpredictable, violent, and technologically inferior. But they were also rumored to be fiercely independent, having resisted the consortium's attempts at peaceful integration. It was a long shot, but it might be her only chance. Lara input the coordinates for the human system, praying to the stars that the rumors were true. As her ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, a blast from one of the pursuing fighters rocked her vessel. Alarms blared as systems began to fail. Lara held on tight as her ship made the jump, the familiar stars disappearing in a flash of blinding light. When the light faded, she found herself in an unfamiliar system, her ship tumbling out of control. Through the viewscreen, Lara could see a blue and green planet growing larger by the second. Warning lights flashed across her console as the ship entered the planet's atmosphere, the hull heating up from the friction. Lara fought with the controls, trying desperately to stabilize her descent. The ground rushed up to meet her, a patchwork of green fields and dense forests. With a final, desperate effort, Lara managed to level out the ship slightly before it plowed into a clearing, carving a deep furrow in the earth before coming to a smoking stop. For a moment, all was silent. Then, slowly, painfully, Lara pulled herself from the wreckage of her ship. She stumbled a few steps before collapsing to her knees, her crystalline skin flickering weakly in the alien sunlight. As the adrenaline faded, the reality of her situation began to sink in. She was stranded on an unknown world, pursued by a ruthless enemy, with only a slim hope of finding help among a species she had been taught to despise. Lara clutched the device she had risked everything to save, its pulsing light a reminder of all she had left behind. As the sound of approaching vehicles reached her ears, she steeled herself for what was to come. Whether these humans would be her salvation or her doom, one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same again. In the distance, a lone figure watched the pillar of smoke rising from the crash site. John Carter, former Earth Defense Force pilot turned hermit, lowered his binoculars with a frown. It had been years since anything interesting had happened in this backwater region, and he had a feeling his peaceful retirement was about to come to an abrupt end. With a sigh, John headed towards his battered old hover jeep. Whatever, or whoever, had just crashed on his planet, he had a feeling things were about to get a whole lot more complicated. As he started the engine, John couldn't help but feel a familiar spark of excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this was the adventure he'd been waiting for all along. The quantum symbiosis. As the dust settled around Lyra's crashed ship, John Carter approached cautiously, his hand resting on the antiquated pulse pistol at his hip. The alien craft was unlike anything he'd seen before, a seamless blend of organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "Well, I'll be damned," John muttered, running a hand through his graying hair. Looks like the conspiracy nuts were right after all. A movement caught his eye, and he saw a figure stumbling away from the wreckage. His breath caught in his throat as he took in the alien's appearance. Lyra's crystalline skin shimmered in the sunlight, refracting the light in mesmerizing patterns. Her form was humanoid, but there was an otherworldly grace to her movements, even in her injured state. John's instincts screamed at him to retreat, to call in the authorities. But something held him back, a mixture of curiosity and an inexplicable feeling that this moment was pivotal. "Hey there," he called out, trying to keep his voice calm and non-threatening. "Looks like you could use some help." Lyra spun towards him, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. The universal translator embedded in her neural cortex struggled to process the unfamiliar language, but after a moment, understanding dawned. "Stay back, human," she warned, her voice a melodic trill that seemed to resonate in John's very bones. "I am Lyra of Zarthalos, and I carry knowledge that could shift the balance of power in this galaxy." John raised his hands in a placating gesture. "Whoa there, space lady. I'm not looking for any galactic power plays. Name's John Carter, and I'm just a washed-up pilot living off the grid. But it looks like you're in a tough spot, and I might be able to help." Before Lyra could respond, a searing pain shot through her body. She cried out, falling to her knees as her crystalline skin began to crack and flake. John rushed forward, his own safety forgotten. "What's happening?" Are you hurt? Lyra's eyes met his, filled with a mixture of pain and desperation. My physiology isn't compatible with your planet's atmosphere. I'm breaking down. John's mind raced. He'd heard rumors of advanced medical tech hidden away in old military bunkers, but he'd dismissed them as tall tales. Now, it might be their only hope. I might know a place that can help, he said, helping Lyra to her feet. But we need to move fast. Can you walk? Lyra nodded weakly, leaning heavily on John as they made their way to his hover jeep. As they sped across the landscape, John couldn't help but marvel at the strange turns his life had taken. Just this morning, he'd been a simple hermit. Now he was racing against time to save an alien fugitive. They reached an old rusted bunker door hidden beneath a holographic projection of a hillside. John punched in a code he thought he'd forgotten, and the doors groaned open. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of disuse. John helped Lyra to a strange, coffin-like device in the center of the room. It's a quantum regeneration chamber, he explained, brushing off the control panel. Or at least, that's what the eggheads called it. Never seen it in action myself. Lyra's eyes widened in recognition. We have similar technology, but far less advanced. This could work. With John's help, Lyra climbed into the chamber. As the lid closed, she fixed John with an intense gaze. Why are you helping me? John shrugged, a lopsided grin on his face. Let's just say I've got a soft spot for underdogs and lost causes. Now let's see if this rust bucket still works. He activated the chamber, and it hummed to life, bathing Lyra in a soft, pulsing light. John watched in amazement as her cracked and flaking skin began to heal, the crystalline structure reforming before his eyes. But something unexpected was happening. Tendrils of energy began to flow from the chamber, enveloping John. He tried to step back, but found himself frozen in place, his mind flooded with alien memories and knowledge. In that moment, John Carter and Lyra of Zarthalos were linked in ways neither of them could have imagined. Their minds merged, sharing thoughts, experiences, and most importantly, an understanding of the threat that loomed over them all. When the process finally ended, both John and Lyra collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. John stared at his hands in wonder, watching as faint crystalline patterns shimmered just beneath his skin. What just happened? He managed to ask. Lyra sat up, her body fully healed, but her eyes wide with shock. It seems the quantum regeneration process created a symbiotic link between us. Our physiologies have merged on a fundamental level. John flexed his fingers, feeling new strength coursing through his body. So, what? I'm part alien now. And I, part human, Lyra replied, a note of wonder in her voice. This is unprecedented. The potential applications of this technology. Yeah, well, let's focus on the immediate problem, John interrupted. I saw what you saw. The Galactic Consortium, the war on your world. They'll be coming for you, won't they? Lyra nodded grimly. Yes, and now that we're linked, they'll come for you too. The knowledge we carry, the potential of this symbiosis, it could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. John stood, offering a hand to Lyra. As she took it, a spark of energy passed between them, and for a moment, they could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. Well then, John said with a grin that was equal parts excitement and trepidation, I guess we'd better figure out how to save the galaxy. Lyra couldn't help but smile in return, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spreading through her chest. Indeed, though I must warn you, the odds are not in our favor. Sweetheart, John replied, his eyes twinkling with long-forgotten mischief. In my experience, impossible odds are the only ones worth betting on. As they made their way back to the hover jeep, both John and Lyra knew that their lives had changed irrevocably. The quantum symbiosis had bound them together, creating something entirely new in the process. They were no longer simply human and Zarthalian. They were the first of a new species, one that combined the best aspects of both races, And as the sun set on this remote corner of Earth, they prepared to embark on a journey that would take them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Little did they know that their unique bond would become the key to unraveling the Galactic Consortium's plans, igniting a revolution that would reshape the very fabric of interstellar society. As John fired up the hoverjeep's engines, Lara placed a hand on his arm. "John," she said softly, I may have misjudged your species. Perhaps humans are not as primitive as I once believed." John chuckled, patting her hand. "Oh, we're plenty primitive, but sometimes it's the primitive solutions that work best against advanced problems." With a roar of engines, they sped off into the gathering darkness, leaving behind the crashed ship and the hidden bunker. Ahead of them lay danger, adventure, and the unknown expanse of the cosmos. The quantum symbiosis had given them unprecedented abilities, but it had also painted a target on their backs. The Galactic Consortium would stop at nothing to capture them, to study and replicate the miracle of their merged physiologies. But for now, as Earth's lonely moon rose over the horizon, John and Lyra allowed themselves a moment of hope. Together, they might just have a chance to change the course of galactic history. And as they raced towards an uncertain future, the first seeds of a deeper connection began to take root between them, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. The adventure was only just beginning, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter in anticipation of what was to come. Cosmic renegades. The vastness of space stretched before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities painted with swirling nebulae and glittering star clusters. John Carter's retrofitted smuggler's vessel, aptly named Quantum Maverick, hurtled through the cosmos, its experimental hyperdrive leaving a trail of iridescent quantum foam in its wake. Inside the cockpit, John's fingers danced over holographic controls, his movements fluid and precise thanks to the crystalline enhancements coursing through his veins. Beside him, Laura's eyes darted between sensor readouts, her Zarthalian intuition melding seamlessly with the ship's advanced AI. "Nebula Nexus approaching," Lyra announced, her voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that sent shivers down John's spine. "The Consortium's quantum entanglement grid will detect us if we don't activate the cloaking array." John nodded, a roguish grin playing at the corners of his mouth. "Time to put our little science project to the test, eh? Initiating photon phase shift, now." The Quantum Maverick shimmered, its hull becoming translucent before fading from view entirely. They were now invisible not only to the naked eye, but to most conventional senses as well. It was a technology born from their unique symbiosis, Zarthalian crystal manipulation combined with human ingenuity and a dash of quantum mechanics that even the most advanced races in the galaxy hadn't yet cracked. As they navigated the swirling gases of the Nebula Nexus, John couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come in such a short time. What had started as a chance encounter on Earth had blossomed into a partnership that defied the very laws of nature. The quantum symbiosis that linked them had opened doors to scientific advancements that neither of their species could have achieved alone. "You're thinking loudly again," Lyra teased, her crystalline skin pulsing with gentle bioluminescence. "I can feel your nostalgia from here." John chuckled, running a hand through his silver-streaked hair. "Just reflecting on our crazy journey, partner. From paranoid hermit and stranded alien to intergalactic freedom fighters. Who would have thought?" Lyra's expression softened, a mix of affection and exasperation that John had come to cherish. "We still have a long way to go before we can claim victory against the Consortium. The Cosmic Codex is still out there, waiting to be deciphered." Ah yes, the Cosmic Codex. The very reason they were out here, dodging Consortium patrols and pushing the boundaries of known science. It was said to be an ancient artifact of immense power, capable of rewriting the fundamental laws of the universe. In the wrong hands, like those of the Galactic Consortium, it could spell the end of free will across the cosmos. Speaking of the Codex, John mused, any luck with that latest fragment we acquired from that Consortium vault? Lyra's eyes lit up with excitement, her passion for knowledge shining through. Actually, yes. I've managed to partially decrypt one of the glyphs. It speaks of a nexus of realities hidden within the heart of a dying star. I believe it might be the key to locating the codex itself. John whistled low. A dying star, huh? No pressure or anything. Any idea which one? Before Lyra could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights bathed the cockpit in an ominous glow. Quantum flux detected. Lyra shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. It's massive. Unlike anything I've ever seen. John's eyes widened as he saw the readings. That's no natural phenomenon. Looks like the consortium's been busy. Brace for impact. A blinding flash of light engulfed the quantum maverick, and for a moment, reality itself seemed to bend and twist around them. When the light faded, John and Lyra found themselves staring at a sight that defied explanation. Before them loomed a colossal structure, a ring of impossible proportions that seemed to be made of pure energy. Within its center swirled a maelstrom of colors and shapes that hurt the eyes to look at directly. By the crystal moons, Lyra breathed, her voice filled with awe and terror. They've done it. They've created an artificial nexus of realities. John's grip tightened on the controls. I'm guessing that's bad news for us and the rest of the free galaxy. Lyra nodded grimly. If they can harness the power of the Nexus, they won't need the cosmic codex. They'll be able to reshape reality at will. As if on cue, a massive consortium battlecruiser decloaked nearby, its weapons powering up with an ominous hum. Unidentified vessel, a cold, mechanical voice crackled over the comm system. You have entered restricted space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. John and Lyra exchanged a look, years of partnership allowing them to communicate volumes without a word. They both knew the stakes. Surrender meant certain death or worse, while running meant abandoning any hope of stopping the consortium's mad plans. Well, partner, John said with a wry smile, looks like it's time for another one of our famous impossible escapes. Any bright ideas? Lyra's eyes gleamed with a mixture of determination and mischief. Actually, I might have one, but you're not going to like it. Hit me, John replied, already bracing himself for whatever crazy scheme his partner had cooked up. We fly into the Nexus, Lyra said simply. John blinked, sure he had misheard. I'm sorry, did you just suggest we fly our very fragile ship into the swirling vortex of reality-bending energy? Lyra nodded, her expression deadly serious. The Nexus is unstable. If we can get inside and disrupt its core, we might be able to collapse it before the consortium can harness its power. And what happens to us if we succeed? John asked, already knowing the answer. Lyra's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. I don't know, but whatever happens, we face it together. John took a deep breath, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline mixed with something deeper, a trust and connection that transcended species and space itself. Together, he agreed, squeezing Lyra's hand. Then, with a whoop of defiance, he pushed the throttle forward. Hold onto your crystals, sweetheart. It's time to save reality. The quantum maverick surged forward, dodging fire from the consortium battlecruiser as it raced towards a swirling maw of the artificial Nexus. As they crossed the threshold, time and space began to warp around them. The ship groaned under the strain, but the unique alloys forged from their combined knowledge held strong. Inside the Nexus, they found themselves bombarded by visions of alternate realities, worlds where the consortium had won, where Earth had never developed spaceflight, where Zarthalos had never fallen. But through it all, John and Lyra remained anchored to each other, their quantum symbiosis a beacon of stability in the chaotic storm. As they approached the core, Lyra's fingers flew over the controls, inputting a complex sequence of commands. I'm going to overload our quantum drive, she explained. The resulting explosion should destabilize the Nexus and cause it to collapse. John nodded, understanding the unspoken implication. There would be no escaping this time. It's been one hell of a ride, partner, he said softly. Lyra's eyes met his, filled with emotions that transcended language. In every reality, John Carter, I am honored to have known you. As the quantum drive reached critical mass, a blinding light engulfed them both. The Nexus shuddered, reality itself seeming to scream as the artificial construct began to tear itself apart. In that final moment, as their atoms were scattered across a million possibilities, John and Lyra's consciousness merged completely. They were no longer human and Zarthalian, no longer two separate beings. They became something new, something that existed beyond the constraints of any single reality. And as the Nexus collapsed, taking the Consortium's mad ambitions with it, a spark of that new consciousness remained. It drifted through the cosmos, a testament to the power of connection, of two beings from different worlds coming together to save them all. In countless realities across the multiverse, sentient beings looked up at the stars and felt a sudden surge of hope. They didn't know why, but for a brief moment, they understood that the universe was vast and wonderful, filled with possibilities they had yet to imagine. And somewhere, in a reality yet to be born, a new adventure was just beginning. Quantum rebirth. In the infinite expanse of the multiverse, a spark of consciousness drifted through the cosmic void. It was John and Lyra, their beings merged into a singular entity of pure quantum energy. Time and space held no meaning in this state, as they existed simultaneously across countless realities. Suddenly, a surge of power pulled at their essence. The remnants of the destroyed nexus of realities coalesced around them, forming a swirling vortex of multidimensional energy. As they were drawn into its center, memories and identities began to reassert themselves. With a blinding flash, John and Lyra materialized on a barren alien world. The sky above them shimmered with aurora-like waves of quantum fluctuations, a reminder of their incredible journey. John groaned, pushing himself up from the rocky ground. His body felt different, stronger, more resilient. Crystalline patterns pulsed beneath his skin, glowing with an inner light. Lyra, he called out, his voice resonating with newfound power. Are you okay? Lyra stirred beside him, her form shimmering as it solidified. She looked at her hands in wonder, watching as they shifted between her original Zarthalian appearance and a more human-like form. John, she breathed, her eyes wide with amazement. We're alive, but we're changed. As they helped each other to their feet, they realized the true extent of their transformation. Their quantum symbiosis had evolved, granting them abilities that defied the laws of physics as they knew them. Looks like our little trip through the multiverse gave us an upgrade, John quipped, flexing his fingers as arcs of energy danced between them. But where are we? Or maybe the better question is, when are we? Lyra closed her eyes, reaching out with her enhanced senses. This planet, it's familiar, yet not. I believe we're on Earth, John, but not the Earth we knew. Before John could respond, a massive holographic projection appeared in the sky above them. The face of a being unlike any they had encountered filled the horizon, part machine, part energy, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of eons. Greetings, quantum avatars, the being's voice boomed, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. I am a celestial architect, guardian of this reality. Your actions have sent ripples through the multiverse, alerting me to your presence. John and Lyra exchanged glances, their merged consciousness allowing for silent communication. They could sense no immediate threat from this entity, but its power was beyond anything they had encountered before. We destroyed the artificial Nexus, Lyra said, her voice steady despite the awe she felt. The Galactic Consortium's plans were thwarted. The celestial architect's expression shifted, a mix of approval and concern. Indeed, and in doing so, you have altered the course of countless realities. But your journey is far from over. The cosmic codex still exists, scattered across dimensions, waiting to be reassembled. Hold up, John interrupted, his old roguish charm shining through despite their transformation. We just saved reality itself. Are you saying we've got to do it all over again? A sound like rumbling thunder filled the air. The architect was laughing. Brave quantum avatars, you have been reborn for a greater purpose. The multiverse is out of balance, and only beings like yourselves, existing between realities, can hope to restore it. As the celestial architects spoke, images flashed in John and Lyra's minds. They saw alternate versions of themselves, fighting battles across 1,000 worlds. They witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of entire universes. The Cosmic Codex is both the problem and the solution, the architect continued. In its complete form, it holds the power to rewrite the fundamental laws of existence. But divided and scattered, its fragments cause chaos and instability throughout the multiverse. Lyra stepped forward, her form shimmering with barely contained energy. You want us to find these fragments and reassemble the Codex? The architect's massive head nodded. You are uniquely suited to this task. Your quantum symbiosis allows you to traverse realities that would destroy lesser beings. But be warned, you are not the only ones seeking the Codex. The echoes of the Galactic Consortium exist in many realities, and they will stop at nothing to claim its power. John felt a familiar mix of excitement and trepidation. So no pressure then. Just hop across dimensions, find pieces of an all-powerful cosmic artifact, and stay one step ahead of multiversal bad guys. Sounds like a typical Tuesday. The celestial architect's form began to fade, its voice growing distant. The fate of all realities rests in your hands, quantum avatars. Use your newfound powers wisely, for every choice you make will ripple across the multiverse. Good luck, and may the cosmic forces be with you. As the projection disappeared, John and Lyra found themselves alone once more on the alien landscape. But now they could sense the very fabric of reality around them, feel the pull of countless alternate dimensions just beyond their reach. Well, partner, John said, turning to Lyra with a grin, ready for the biggest adventure of our lives, or afterlives, or whatever we are now. Lyra's form solidified, a determined glint in her eyes. Always. But John, we must be cautious. With these new powers, we could easily become the very thing we fought against. Promise me we'll keep each other grounded, no matter what wonders or horrors we encounter. John took her hand, feeling the surge of energy that passed between them, a reminder of their unbreakable bond. I promise. Across every reality, every dimension, we face this together. As if in response to their resolve, a shimmering portal opened before them. Beyond its swirling surface, they could glimpse strange new worlds waiting to be explored. So, John asked, his voice filled with excitement and a touch of nervous energy, where to first? Lyra smiled, her free hand reaching out to touch the portal's surface. Why don't we let the multiverse decide? After all, we're quantum avatars now. It's time we embrace the chaos. With a shared laugh that echoed across realities, John and Lyra stepped through the portal. The barren world they left behind shimmered and faded, revealing itself to be just another illusion in the vast tapestry of the multiverse. Their quest to reassemble the Cosmic Codex had begun, a journey that would take them to the very edges of existence and beyond. With each step, each choice, they would reshape the fate of countless realities. For John Carter and Lyra of Zaros were no longer just unlikely allies or even merged beings. They had become living embodiments of cosmic balance, quantum avatars on an eternal mission to safeguard the very fabric of the multiverse itself. And as they vanished into the swirling energies of the portal, new legends began to spread across countless worlds, whispered tales of the Dimension Walkers, the Reality Weavers, come to bring hope and wonder to a multiverse in need of heroes. The greatest adventure in all of reality had only just begun. Chronoverse convergence. The multiverse pulsed with vibrant energy as John and Lyra, now fully embracing their roles as quantum avatars, materialized on a world unlike any they had encountered before. The sky above them was a kaleidoscope of swirling timelines, each one a potential future or alternate past. Welcome to the Chronoverse, a melodious voice echoed around them. A being of pure light stepped forward, its form constantly shifting between different ages and species. I am the Tempest Guardian, keeper of this nexus of temporal convergence. John whistled, taking in the surreal landscape. Fragments of different eras floated by, a piece of ancient Rome here, a futuristic megacity there, all coexisting in impossible harmony. Let me guess, he said with a wry smile, another cosmic entity with a job for us. The Tempest Guardian's laughter rippled through the air like chimes. Perceptive as always, John Carter. But this is no mere task. The Chronoverse is collapsing, and with it, the very concept of time itself. Lyra stepped forward, her crystalline form shimmering with barely contained temporal energy. The cosmic codex fragment, she breathed, realization dawning. It's here, isn't it? The Guardian nodded solemnly. Indeed, the codex piece known as the Eternity Equation lies at the heart of this realm. Its power holds the timelines in balance, but now it's become unstable. Let me guess, John interjected. If this place goes boom, it takes all of time with it. Precisely, the Guardian confirmed. But retrieving the equation won't be simple. The instability has created chronoparadox zones throughout the Chronoverse. Enter one unprepared, and you risk being erased from existence, or worse. Lyra's eyes narrowed in determination. We've faced impossible odds before. What do we need to do? The Tempest Guardian waved a hand, and a holographic map of the Chronoverse appeared before them. You must navigate through 5 epoch spheres, each representing a crucial point in the multiverse's history. Solve the paradoxes within, and you'll stabilize that section of the timeline. John cracked his knuckles, quantum energy dancing between his fingers. Sounds like a time-hopping scavenger hunt. I'm in. Be warned, the Guardian cautioned, its voice growing grave. The Consortium's multiversal echoes have sensed the equation's power. They seek to claim it for themselves, to rewrite history in their image. Then we'd better get moving, Lyra said, her form already starting to phase in anticipation of the journey ahead. The Tempest Guardian nodded, its form beginning to fade. Good luck, quantum avatars. The fate of all timelines rests in your hands. As the Guardian disappeared, John and Lyra found themselves facing the first epoch sphere, a swirling vortex of primordial energy. Ladies first, John quipped, offering his hand to Lyra. She took it with a smile, their fingers intertwining as quantum energy surged between them. Together as always. They stepped into the vortex, and reality twisted around them. When their vision cleared, they found themselves in the midst of a prehistoric jungle, the air thick with the roars of ancient beasts. Jurassic Junction, John muttered, eyeing a nearby T-Rex with apprehension. Any idea what paradox was supposed to fix here? Before Lyra could respond, a flash of light revealed a group of Consortium soldiers, their armor adorned with temporal stabilizers. There they are, the leader shouted. Capture the avatars and secure the DNA samples. DNA samples. Lyra's eyes widened in realization. John, they're trying to prevent the evolution of sentient life. We have to stop them. What followed was a chase through time itself. John and Lyra, with their quantum abilities, leaped from era to era, protecting key moments in evolution, while the Consortium forces hounded their every move. They safeguarded the first fish to walk on land, ensured the survival of early mammals during the asteroid impact, and even guided early hominids to crucial technological discoveries. As they reached a final confrontation, facing off against the Consortium leader in the cradle of human civilization, John couldn't help but laugh. You know, he said, quantum energy crackling around his fists, for someone who used to think humans were primitive, you've put a lot of effort into making sure we evolved. Lyra smiled, her crystalline form resonating with the timeline's energy. Let's just say my perspective has evolved. With a synchronized burst of power, they defeated the Consortium forces and stabilized the epoch sphere. The prehistoric world shimmered and faded, depositing them back in the central hub of the Chronoverse. 4 more epoch spheres awaited them, each promising challenges that would test not just their new abilities, but the very core of who they were and what they stood for. As they paused to catch their breath, John turned to Lyra, his expression soft despite the chaos around them. "Hey," he said quietly, "no matter what happens, no matter what we become, I'm glad it's you I'm facing this with." Lyra's form shimmered, briefly returning to her original Zarthalian appearance. "As am I, John Carter. Across all of time and space, there's no one I'd rather have by my side." Their moment was interrupted by a tremor that shook the very fabric of the Chronoverse. The remaining epoch spheres pulsed with unstable energy, a reminder of the monumental task that still lay ahead. "Ready to save time itself, partner?" John asked, a familiar glint of excitement in his eyes. Lyra nodded, her form already beginning to phase in preparation for the next jump. "Always. Let's show the multiverse what quantum avatars can really do." Hand in hand, they leaped into the next epoch sphere, their forms blurring as they phased between moments in time. They were no longer just John Carter and Lyra of Zarthalos, no longer merely human and alien. They had become living embodiments of quantum possibility, guardians of time and space, their love a force that could reshape reality itself. As they vanished into the time stream, new legends began to echo across the ages. On countless worlds, in myriad realities, beings of all kinds would look to the stars and whisper tales of the Chrono Guardians, the quantum lovers whose devotion to each other was matched only by their commitment to preserving the delicate balance of existence itself. The Chronoverse trembled with anticipation, for the greatest time-bending adventure in the history of the multiverse had only just begun.